Hello folks, I am the Bitter Clinger, and this is my in-depth review for Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 was released as a buy-to-play game in August 2012, but after 3 years and 7 million copies sold, ArenaNet has released the Heart of Thorns expansion and made most of the preceding content available for free. I purchased the game back in 2012, so I have a legacy buy-to-play account, but this review is going to focus on the content that is now available to play for free. This is the same content and leveling experience you'll have even if you buy into the game with Heart of Thorns. Guild Wars 2 is one of the most ambitious MMORPGs on the market, and that being the case, there are a few things this review will not cover. I won't be covering any of the Heart of Thorns expansion content for two reasons. One, there are tons of great reviews for that content already available on YouTube, and two, I don't own the Heart of Thorns expansion. Also, Guild Wars 2 offers an unconventional approach to endgame content, and while I have started some of my endgame progressions, endgame is not my area of expertise in MMORPGs, so I don't feel like I could properly judge it against content offered in other games. The topics I will be covering are monetization, player population, lore and storyline, character creation, gameplay and progression including PvP and crafting, graphics and interface, and finally, I'll round out the review with my segment on annoyances. Guild Wars 2 is officially buy to play, and you can buy the Heart of Thorns expansion for around $50. This gives you full access to all content currently released for the game. You can also play the game for free with some restrictions, but otherwise having access to most of the pre-expansion content. There is a cash shop that contains the usual cosmetic and convenience items. Additional character slots will cost you about $10. Additional bag slots normally run just under $9, but you can get them for half that price if you're patient enough to wait for a sale. Armor skins and outfits are reasonably priced and often go on sale. Once you buy a skin or an outfit, it becomes available to all characters on your account via the wardrobe feature. I'll talk more about the wardrobe and inventory management features later in this review. Outfits change the appearance of your character. It's an all or nothing change. It's not a transmutation of your armor, and therefore transmutation charges are never required to turn an outfit on or off. Armor skins change the appearance of a specific type of armor, and you can apply the skins to each individual piece of armor, which is helpful if you want to mix and match skins for a specific look. The first transmutation after purchasing an armor skin is free, but if you upgrade a piece of armor or you want to apply that skin to armor worn by another character, you'll have to use a transmutation charge, which are available from the cash shop. Finally, you can exchange in-game gold for cash shop gems and vice versa. Items like armor skins and outfits would cost you about 150 gold at the current exchange rate, but keep in mind that gold is not that easy to come by in Guild Wars 2, at least not compared to other popular MMORPGs on the market. Guild Wars 2 is the most populated MMORPG I've played in years. Since ArenaNet implemented their mega server technology more than a year ago, I have never found myself trying to complete events alone, even in mid-level maps. The world is divided into maps, and the game will create as many instances of each map necessary to comfortably support the player population. Map instances are not something you can change at will, but as the population begins to dwindle in the current instance, you'll be offered a chance to transfer back to a more populated instance along with a little buff for doing so. Dungeons are about the only content where you'll need to actually form a group. The group finder in Guild Wars 2 displays groups looking for more by content in real time. Since there is no trinity in this game, there are no long wait times for tanks and healers. I've often been able to step into a group and begin a dungeon instantly, but even groups that I start from scratch typically fill up within 1 or 2 minutes. Having said that, the group finder is content driven, so your wait times may vary depending on the content you're running and the time of day you're running it. It can be tricky to get groups for some of the older content, especially the higher level storyline dungeons. You may have more luck reaching out to a guild for that sort of thing. Guild membership is managed at the account level, and you can represent up to 5 guilds per account even with only a single character. You can easily change the guild any character is representing with the click of a button as often as you like, but you'll still be able to participate in the chat for all your guilds, which is a very nice touch. The Black Lion Trading Post is the cash shop, currency exchange, and player auction house for Guild Wars 2. The auction house is very active, even for lower level items and raw materials. I've been auctioning items rare or better, and they usually sell within hours if not minutes. If an item hasn't sold within a day or two, that usually means supply has outpaced demand, or there was never any demand for the item to begin with. You can often pull the item down and successfully re-auction it at the new price point. Keep in mind there is a 5% fee to list items, and the trading post takes a 10% cut of any successful transactions. Finally, queue times for unranked arena PvP range between 1 and 3 minutes. The World vs. World Overflow map, called Edge of Mist, usually has one roving horde of players that's not too hard to find, but I'm not sure what this map is overflowing from. The World vs. World border maps are absolutely deserted. I saw no friendly players and only 2 enemy players over the course of several forays into these maps. This led me to do some poking around on the forums, and I found many complaints about a dearth of World vs. World players since the Heart of Thorns expansion was released. I'll talk more about PvP in the gameplay and progression segment of this review. There are volumes of lore and mythos for the land of Tyria, including an impeccably referenced wiki and 4 full-length novels. You'll become a part of the lore surrounding Tyria and get to know its most notable characters in your personal storyline. The personal storyline becomes available at level 10 and is probably the closest thing this game has to traditional quests. Each race has its own storyline, but all the race-specific branches tend to merge into a common plotline by level 30 or so. The personal story is not required, and you can skip it altogether, but it offers great experience rewards, and it's a great way to learn about the history and various factions in Guild Wars 2 without having to do a lot of reading. ArenaNet also builds on existing lore using a seasonal progression system called Living World. Living World Season 2 concluded this year, and Living World Season 3 is expected in early 2016. Now, I suspect participation in Season 3 will require the Heart of Thorns expansion, but I don't know that for sure. Season 1 is no longer playable, but a brief synopsis is available in the form of a video. Living World Season 2 is still available to play, but free accounts will need to either buy Season 2 from the cash shop or group with another player that already has Season 2 unlocked for their account. You can get caught in a Living World-based event at any level, but the story-driven elements of the Living World content are targeted towards higher-level characters. None of the Living World content is required, but it is the most entertaining and immersive content for the game, in my opinion. Well, that and the experience points and loot rewards aren't bad either. Guild Wars 2 is one of those games that still has you choose a specific server. However, most of your PvE gameplay is going to occur on the Mega server, so your server selection isn't very important, unless you have a compelling interest in World vs. World PvP. I'll get back to that subject a little later. There are 5 character races and 9 classes, otherwise known as professions, in Guild Wars 2. You start by selecting either Norn, Azura, Human, Char, or Sylvari as the race for your character. Each playable race is available as male or female, and any race can choose any profession. There are no restrictions and no stat bonuses for any of the races, but each race does have a few special skills. The racial skills are useful but don't rise to the level of anything you would miss if you preferred another race, especially considering racial skills can't be used underwater or in structured PvP arenas. Each race also has its own capital city, starting maps, and personal storyline that will take you to about level 30 before you get merged into the shared maps and plotlines. But there's still a lot of replay value in trying out different races. There is no trinity in Guild Wars 2. All the professions have some measure of survivability, damage per second, and healing depending on character development choices. This makes it difficult to describe the professions in terms of classes commonly used in other RPGs. The professions are Warrior, Guardian, Elementalist, Mesmer, Ranger, Necromancer, Thief, and Engineer. Now, some of these professions are what you think they are. The Warrior, Elementalist, Necromancer, and Thief are pretty straightforward. The Mesmer offers an experience unique to Guild Wars 2 in my opinion. The Guardian and Ranger are probably the easiest professions for beginners, and the Engineer has the most complex skill rotation at higher levels. The new Revenant profession is only available with the Heart of Thorns expansion. Also, if you're searching for Guild Wars 2 professions and come across information about Druids, Dragon Hunters, and Daredevils, those are elite specializations and they also require the expansion. The character detail options in Guild Wars 2 aren't nearly as good as current games coming out on the market, but they're about what you'd expect from a game released in 2012. You can choose from a number of preset selections for body type, hairstyles, and tattoos. More detailed adjustments are available for facial features. Finally, you can select the colors of your armor. Every piece of armor you find in the game will have from 1 to 3 dye channels. Unlike the other options for character creation, you can change your armor colors at any time for no cost. ArenaNet has managed to combine an innovative quest system, exploration incentives, level scaling, and fast-paced combat to create some very entertaining character progression and gameplay. There are no traditional quests in Guild Wars 2. When you're in the vicinity of someone that needs your help, a heart will appear on your display with a list of tasks and an approximate level of difficulty for those tasks. Completing the task will fill up the respective hearts and reward you with experience in various currencies. Each map has a number of exploration activities like viewing vistas and discovering points of interest. You get a map completion bonus for completing all the exploration activities on a map. That can be a lot of fun if you're a completionist, but if you're not a completionist, then traveling from location to location going for map completion is probably not the most enjoyable way to level up your character. I personally prefer letting the adventure come to me in the form of dynamic events. Dynamic events can be anything from escorting merchants to defending against bandit invasions. Most dynamic events are triggered by your arrival in the area, but some can be started by talking to an NPC with an orange bubble overhead. Events can be standalone or part of a series, and some event chains can even lead to a world boss. Your character will be down leveled when you're in a lower level map. Of course, you'll still have the advantage of your higher level skills and specializations, but this feature allows you to earn experience and karma doing the things you like on any map you like. Now, I don't usually like doing daily quests in MMORPGs, but the dailies in Guild Wars 2 can be surprisingly fun. I like selecting a combination of PvE and PvP dailies depending on whether I'm looking for map completion, endgame progression, or PvP rank points. It's a good way to avoid the monotony associated with dailies in other games. The PvE combat for Guild Wars 2 is fun, but it's not very compelling. I would never engage a particular event or creature just for the thrill of the fight, so to speak, but that's not to say all the combat-based content is easy. Dungeons certainly have some difficult encounters, partly because they're limited to groups of 5 players, but they still feel like events in terms of gameplay. This is probably due to the lack of a trinity in the game, but I've had no issues pulling my weight in dungeons even though my equipment and build weren't quite up to snuff at the time. A character build consists of weapon selection, specializations, and profession skills. When I say weapon skills, I'm talking about combat skills that are tied to certain weapons available to your profession. All your weapon skill slots and down skills are unlocked by level 10. By the way, the down feature gives you 4 skills allowing you to fight your way back from the edge of the grave. Now, some of the down skills aren't very useful against AI mobs, but it can make for some interesting moments in PvP. There is a death penalty in the form of item durability. It doesn't cost any money to get your equipment repaired, but if you put it off long enough, you could end up doing a half-naked boss fight, so I've learned to get repairs as needed. You'll earn a number of hero points each level starting at level 11. Hero points are used to research utility skills for the remaining skill slots in the action bar, which unlock as you continue to level up. Hero points are also used to research specialization traits starting at level 21. You can change your specialization trait choices at any time for no charge, but there is no way to reset your hero points as you're leveling up. Now that's not really a problem because it doesn't impact PvP, which I'll talk about in a minute, and you can earn additional hero points by completing heroic challenges that are spread throughout each map. You can check sites like metabattle.com if you're interested in some guidance for profession builds, but Guild Wars 2 allows you to experiment with different specializations, weapons, and utility skills to find the right configuration that works for you. There are no gear scores or DPS meters in this game, so you won't need to worry about some self-appointed hall monitor calling you out because your character isn't up to spreadsheet standards. Guild Wars 2 has a familiar but very useful crafting system. Crafting materials consist of resources, vendor items, and loot items. Standard recipes are unlocked as your skill in a particular crafting discipline increases, but you can unlock additional recipes using the discovery feature. Now, I admit that I use a skill up guide most of the time, but I actually enjoy messing around with the discovery feature on my chef. It's fun to create something new out of odd ingredients I pick up here and there. Unfortunately, experimenting with discovery is probably not the best way to level up your crafting discipline. I also like the fact that I can produce useful items even at low levels, including various bags and containers. By the way, those low-level items are not only useful, they're also valuable as the player-driven crafting economy is thriving in Guild Wars 2. I had some extra components left over from a mid-level skill-up session, and I was able to sell them instantly for over 2 gold at the trading post. Raw materials can be harvested at resource nodes found throughout most maps. You can also get them as loot rewards or by salvaging items that you don't want or need any longer. By the way, resource nodes are not competitive, so you won't need to race anyone when you're going after raw materials. One of the newer methods of farming resources is the Map Bonus Award. Completing events in a map will result in an additional map reward in the form of rare crafting materials. This is a great feature because, folks, I can confirm that doing events is a lot more fun than killing 100 fireflies. Structured PvP arenas become available at level 3, but all players are up-leveled to level 80 while in PvP areas. All weapon choices, skill selections, and specialization choices are saved separately from your PvE build. This allows you to switch between PvE and PvP content without having to mess with your character each time. Your equipment may look the same in both PvE and PvP environments, but all weapons and armor have the same base stats in structured PvP to eliminate gear advantages. Before queuing for battle, you'll want to activate a PvP reward track, some of which allow you to obtain exclusive armor skins or weapons and armor sets that are otherwise only available in PvE areas. Now, I only made it to rank 9 for the purpose of this video, so unranked arenas and stronghold mode were my only options. Conquest mode is unlocked at rank 10, and ranked arenas get unlocked at rank 20. Rank points are earned after each match. Winning rewards 3 times as many points as losing. This screen says I have 32 battles, but 25 of those are from 2013 when PvP was an absolute mess in Guild Wars 2. For this video, I played in 7 unranked battles. I lost 5 and won 2, but I admit that I was having fun most of the time. I felt like I was able to be effective against other players, but 5 of the battles were absolute one-sided blowouts, and only one of the battles was close enough to add a little competitive tension to the match. Structured PvP is very enjoyable and has become part of my daily gameplay in Guild Wars 2. World vs. World is a game mode where players from 3 different servers do battle on special border maps. When you enter a World vs. World map, your character is up-leveled to level 80 just like in structured PvP, but your gear is your gear. That will definitely impact your ability to be effective if you're not actually level 80 and or not adequately geared. The idea is you're supposed to get together with a horde of other players so your individual contribution, or lack thereof, is less of a factor. I'd love to tell you how that works, but I play on the Borderless Pass server, and the border maps for Borderless Pass are absolutely deserted. There was some activity in an overflow map known as Edge of Mists, but other than a few times when the roving hordes of players accidentally bumped into each other, it seemed like a lot of the players were just there to farm champion NPCs. World vs. World seemed like the type of PvP I would enjoy. It kinda reminded me of the Alteric Valley battleground in World of Warcraft, but there were never enough players for anything like that to materialize. I think this is definitely a wasted opportunity in Guild Wars 2, and frankly, a waste of the player's time until something changes. I've been running the game with high video settings, and the game looks fantastic by MMO standards. The environments including ground cover, horizons, lighting, and weather effects are both beautiful and immersive. Frame rates remain high and stable in most areas, but world boss events drive my frame rates into the low 20s just from the sheer volume of activity on the screen. World boss events can also provide some, well, interesting visuals. I mean, come on. The user interface is clean and does a good job of staying out of the way. Unfortunately, it isn't very customizable, and ArenaNet doesn't support mods for Guild Wars 2. Of course, you always have the option to rebind the controls to your liking. The game's visual presentation really shines when it comes to character itemization. It's probably why itemization is huge in this game. I don't usually get that excited about gear in MMOs, but customizing my character's appearance is surprisingly entertaining. The wardrobe system helps you manage all the skins, outfits, and miniatures you've unlocked for all characters on your account. In fact, I quickly got in the habit of previewing every new piece of equipment I came across. I might choose one piece over another just to unlock the skin in my wardrobe, even if I have no intention of actually equipping the item. There is significant inventory pressure in this game. It's not too bad if you've bought the game and have at least 5 bag slots, with bags in them of course, but if you're a free player with only 3 slots, well, at least you'll have something to do after every fight. Fortunately, there's material storage where you can deposit all crafting materials up to 250 per stack. You can make deposits directly from your inventory at any time from any location. You also get one 30-slot bank tab per account where you can store everything else. Additional material storage and bank tabs are available from the cash shop, but before you spend your gems to do that, you might consider creating a personal guild. It only costs 1 gold to create a guild, and your guild will start with a 50-slot guild vault. So it's like getting an extra bank tab on the cheap, and like all guild banks, you can begin filling it with useless junk that nobody else wants. Guild Wars 2 delivers some amazing innovation and unique gameplay, but that comes with some annoyances. The combat animations are well done and fun to watch, but there's a visual disconnect between some of the combat mechanics and what you're actually seeing on the screen. This can lead to a visual dissonance where you're being hit by an attack that you appear to dodge, or an enemy continues to track and shoot you when you're invisible and moving. Now, this doesn't happen too often, and it is much more evident when I play my thief than on other professions, but I think at a minimum the dodge mechanic should correlate with the action on the screen, because getting hit by attacks that I've appeared to dodge is annoying. My daughter and I enjoy creating a small personal guild in most of the games we play together, and Guild Wars 2 was no exception. We absolutely understand that this means we won't be able to accomplish a lot of things for our guild that larger, more active guilds are going to be able to achieve. Still, we were able to work towards some progression, like expanding our guild bank and researching a few guild buffs, but that appears to be no longer possible due to the introduction of guild halls with the Heart of Thorns expansion. Now, I admit it's not a huge factor in my enjoyment of the game, and it doesn't impact gameplay, but I can't help but feel like something has been taken away from me, and that's, well, not so much annoying as it is disappointing. The world versus world conflict was so appealing to me, and I really wanted to get the full experience. So I checked the WVW leaderboards and figured these top-rated servers must be having more success with world versus world PvP. I asked around and learned that there are roving hordes of players on the border maps for these servers, but look at the populations. You can't transfer or start a new character on a full server, and transferring to a very high server costs $22.50. That's a non-starter for me because I don't even know what the world versus world combat is really like, so I have no way to determine if it's worth another $20. And that, my friends, is annoying. Guild Wars 2 is too often overlooked in discussions of MMORPGs. But the innovations that ArenaNet has introduced into the genre are now being copied by other games. ArenaNet also seems like a very responsible developer. They are very active in maintaining a family-friendly community and player-driven economy. They don't give half-hearted lip service to cracking down on farming bots and gold sellers, which may explain why Guild Wars 2 Gold trades at an exchange rate 5 times better than the Japanese yen. Now, if you try and take a traditional approach to this game where you travel from quest hub to quest hub, looking for quest givers and filling up hearts, you're not going to enjoy this game. That's secondary content in this game, something you do while you're doing something else. This game won't lead you by the nose, and that can be a stumbling block for some players. The personal story will help you branch out into new level-appropriate maps, but the truth is you could level from 1 to 80 without ever leaving the starting zone. That would be a tragic waste of content, especially considering you could be participating in unrestricted PvP in 4 different world boss events by level 15. It can also be difficult to get your head around the lack of a trinity in Guild Wars 2, but there are certain builds for many professions that lean more towards traditional roles, especially with the new elite specializations introduced with Heart of Thorns. This game really shines when you're mixing up your gameplay, discovering new map locations and events, then jumping into some PvP or in-game dungeons. Take down a couple of world bosses or get caught in a living world event. And oh, by the way, look really good while you're doing it. I've really enjoyed playing the game for this review. In fact, one reason this review has taken so long is because, well, I've been playing too much Guild Wars 2 instead of working on YouTube videos. Sure, there have been times over the last 3 years when I've uninstalled the game only to reinstall it when some new content and improvements were released. But that's the value of the buy-to-play model. I have nearly 600 hours of gameplay at a cost of $50 back in 2012, and I'm just beginning to scratch the surface of level 80 content in the core game. Folks, if you haven't tried Guild Wars 2, you can get that same 600 hours and much more for free. And if you're one of the people who purchased the game early on and walked away shortly after, then I can tell you this is not the same game you played back in 2012. And the truth is, it doesn't cost you anything but time to reinstall it and check it out. If you found this review to be entertaining or informative, and you enjoy these in-depth reviews, giving me a thumbs up will let me know to keep producing similar content. If you feel there are things that could have been covered more or less, let me know in the comments. I read every comment, and subscriber comments are the reason this review includes PvP coverage. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait to get back to fighting dragons in the land of Tyria. So until I see you in other times and other worlds, this is Bitter Klinger, signing out.
Ah, not bad at all. Now this town belongs to us.